The achievements of one man can be great, but along every hero's journey, he is met with trials that require the assistance of others. Brothers helping brothers is a fundamental part of our fraternity experience, as we all know. When citation recipient Jim Clayton, Tennessee 56, fell upon hard times with his company he started, Clayton Homes, fellow citation recipient and SigEp brother Wally Dowd, Wisconsin 48, quickly came to his aid. Dowd joined Clayton's board of directors, helping him navigate the difficult juncture and put Clayton Homes back on a successful course. In appreciation of Dowd's assistance and his demonstration of virtue, diligence, and most importantly, brotherly love, Jim Clayton established and endowed the Clayton-Doud Award. Today, this biennial scholarship recognizes brothers who come to another's aid, helping overcome the obstacles that accompany the pursuit of virtue, diligence, and brotherly love. The scholarship awards $10,000 to these brothers who exemplify relationships shared by brothers Dowd and Clayton. It celebrates the determination to practice brotherly love despite all odds. 13 conclaves ago in 1991, following the work of the National Committee on Self-Esteem, SigEp's undergraduate body voted to pass Resolution 37, a mandate to transform the pledging process from proving worthiness to achievement in the chapter and a community. SigEp was the largest fraternity at the time, and with our explosive growth in the previous decade came problems: substance abuse, hazing, academic underachievement. To address these problems, the Balanced Man Project was launched, later becoming the Balanced Man Program. Within 6 months, 37 chapters had adopted the new program. Over the next decade, the program spread. Universities noticed the success and demanded it for their SigEp chapters on their campuses. The U.S. Department of Education even funded expansion with a 6-figure grant. But by the mid-2000s, the program had lost momentum. Many chapters weren't completely aligned with the philosophy of the BMP, and more chapters were falling victim to the cultural decay affecting fraternity life. In 2011, Grand President Bert Harris, Florida 74, created a focus group of undergraduates and volunteers to brainstorm ways to improve the Balanced Man Program. Its Balanced Man Program Task Force found that the program needed to be updated. It reemphasized that in order not only to mitigate the problems that had emerged in the fraternity, it needed to make SigEp a leader in the development of young men. These findings came at a pivotal point in the modern history of fraternities. In 2014, the death toll from fraternities reached double digits. Yes, this is a strong phrase, but it is one that accurately describes the crisis we are facing. Many of these tragedies were hazing related. University and colleges, large and small, began temporarily or permanently shutting down their fraternity systems. Even though this crisis affected SigEp, our fraternity has always been different. Our brothers knew something had to change. Several chapters reached out to the national board and headquarters staff wanting to lead change in SigEp. Soon, a coalition of 10 undergraduate men emerged: chapter presidents, executive board members, Ruck and Quest scholars, and they met to discuss a piece of legislation that would prove monumental in Sigma Phi Epsilon's history. Supported by volunteers, these brothers from 8 different chapters met in April of 2015 in Columbus, Ohio. From different chapters, different regions, differently sized campuses, they represented every corner of the fraternity, and they were determined to lead change. And when Sigma Phi Epsilon called upon them to help needing young men who would show the leadership and the guts to bring the fraternity into the future, they showed up. Members of this coalition of the Balanced Man Project held weekly conference calls discussing potential objections to their efforts in drafting legislation for conclave. The language had to be bold, forward-looking, but it couldn't leave any brother behind. After weeks of gathering input and agonizing over wording, the brothers had a draft of a bold, far-reaching proposal. But their work was far from over. They had to gather support from undergraduate leaders all across the country because they knew they had to get passed for the good of the brothers in 2015 and for the decades to come. Working together, the brothers divided and conquered. They placed hundreds of calls to conclave delegates around the country in June and July. They listened patiently to objections, did their best to address them, and through it all kept the vision of positive change in the front of their mind. They had to make all this happen for the brothers now and in the future. Conclave finally arrived in August 2015. Brothers met again in Nashville and discussed their legislative strategy. During these meetings on the legislative floor, these men advanced tirelessly so what they had devoted so many hours to accomplishing. And they did it. When the votes were cast and the result was clear and decisive, through their efforts, their coming together, their display of brotherly love, these few men did something a similar group of men did in 1901, took a bold step that would echo throughout the time and change the lives of so many young men. Brothers of the Coalition of the Balanced Man program, for the brotherly love you've shown for so many and the aid you've given to our entire fraternity, I am pleased to honor you with the Clayton-Doud Award.